Well, welcome back to For Murder Mystery Tour, and I hope you're having a great time. I am too. One of the questions that I'm regularly asked is, what was your first, what was your first professional writing job, or how did you get on this path to mayhem and intrigue? Since I write murder mysteries, well, my first professional writing job was whenever I was 18 years old, and I was in high school. And I spent my high school years in Lordstown, Ohio, which was basically owned by General Motors. It was a small class. My graduating class only had 56 kids in it. And most of the students, my classmates, they aspired because most all of their parents worked for General Motors, including my mother, and that's why I lived in Lordstown. And most of them aspired to go to work for General Motors, to go to work on the assembly line. And well, I wanted, even then, to be Agatha Christie. I wanted to travel the world and write murder mysteries. Even then, I wanted to write murder mysteries. And our high school had two tracks. We had the college prep track, which was people who were going to go to college, become lawyers and doctors and authors like me. And then you had the regular track, which was just to get you through high school and get you on the assembly line at General Motors. And so I was on the college prep track, which meant that the English classes consisted of advanced composition. I was learning how to do bibliographies and footnotes. And meanwhile, most of my other friends were in the regular English, taking creative writing. Now, for somebody who wanted to write murder mysteries and travel the world and write murder mysteries, I wanted to take creative writing. But no, I was learning the parts of a bibliography. And meanwhile, my friends were taking creative writing. And amongst my friends was Suzanne, she was one of my best friends. And Suzanne was very much like Velma on Scooby-Doo. She wore turtlenecks to make sure that nobody saw any flesh. She had the big Coke glasses. She was very shy, very self-conscious. She would sit behind me in class, in the other classes, because I wasn't in creative writing with her. But she would be in class and she would chastise me anytime I'd raise my hand because people might see her behind me. She hated attention. She was going very big time, that teenage thing of, I don't want to draw attention to myself. And so you can imagine whenever it was our senior year and her class got the assignment, you're going to write a short story. And you're going to read it in front of class. And Suzanne fainted. I have to stand in front of class. I have to write a short story. So she had 6 weeks to write this short story. And meanwhile, I was drooling with envy. Oh, to write, and create. Meanwhile, I'm learning how to do footnotes and how to do research, which was very boring. So for 6 months, she fussed and she would say, when am I going to write this short story? And I'd say, write about something that's interesting that's happening in your life. Well, nothing interesting ever happens to me. And yeah, she was right. Because she was so shy, she would go home, get off the school bus, go home, go inside and watch Brady Bunch. She wasn't allowed to watch The Partridge Family because that was just too racy. And she never went anywhere. She didn't go to pajama parties. She didn't date. She never kissed a boy, any of that. So she basically had no material to work from. And so I would say, well, use your imagination. You have a dog, write about your dog having fleas. Well, who wants to hear about my dog having fleas? Was her response. So she fussed and I drooled. So then after 6 weeks, she comes the day that her assignment is due, and all Suzanne has is hives. She's just worked herself into a total fuss. She's a nervous breakdown. She's ready for a nervous breakdown. And so I said to her, I said, well, would you like me to write your short story for you? And she was desperate. And she said, sure, but you only have one study hall and lunch period to do it. And I said, I can do it. I said, you just go get me lunch. And so in one study hall and one lunch period, I wrote her short story. And so time was so short that she didn't even have time to read it. And meanwhile, I got a cheeseburger, French fries, and a Diet Coke. That was my payment. So that was what made my first professional job, was I got paid for this. And so she goes running off to class, and she doesn't even read it. And she's called to the front of the classroom, and to her horror, everyone is laughing as she reads My Dog Has Fleas. And it was a story within a story. It was about, it was written in first person, and she was assigned to write a short story, and she didn't know what to write, and thought, well, she'd write My Dog Has Fleas, and then she'd chuck that idea, and then she'd chuck another, and then she ended up, writing about how she came to the conclusion of My Dog Has Fleas. And the classroom roared. The teacher thought it was imaginative, creative, and well written, and gave her an A, and that was the only A she got in that class. And, and for days, everybody talked about what a brilliant short story this was, and how hilarious it was, and it was funny, and the wording and the twist of the wording and everything. And Suzanne went home, and, and she closed the door and never spoke to me again. But that success, because everyone was talking about it. And yeah, it was a known secret that I wrote it. That helped to inspire me with my life. I realized, I could do this. I could be a professional writer, because, I'm imaginative, creative, and it was well written, and so then whenever I would feel down, by a rejection or whatever, I would think, but remember that My Dog Has Fleas. That was a great story, and that was what spurred me on and helped to push me forward in my endeavors to become a professional writer. Of course, Suzanne still doesn't speak to me, but hey, there's one critic in every group, right? So that was my first professional writing job. And I would say it was successful, though Suzanne wouldn't, but I would say that it was a big success. And that's what counts, right? So there you go. And happy reading. See you next time.